Growing up in Ghana, I lived with my grandma, and it came a time where we had to move in with my mom in the US. We were supposed to leave on a Sunday, and we had a party at the house that we lived in. There was a lot of people from the neighborhood that came to see us off, pretty much like celebrating us finally going to go live with our mom, to be together with our mom in the US. And so we had that party on Sunday night and then left for the airport. When we went to the airport, they made us check our bags. We were able to check our bags that we were taking with us and everything, but they told us that the plane had not arrived yet. It was in Liberia, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And so they told us to go home and come back the next day. So that's what we did. We went home, came back the next day, and they made us sit in a waiting room for about 4 hours. We actually saw the plane land within those 4 hours, and they finally put us onto the plane. We were able to board the plane. Once we were on, we were seated for about 1 hour. They gave us blankets, they gave us pillows. We were all comfy, they got us comfortable. We were ready to go. And then the captain made an announcement telling us that the crew had to go on a 24-hour break because they had just got back from Liberia. And so they told us to leave and come back to the airport again tomorrow. We came back on Tuesday morning, and this time we were able to actually take off, which was good, I guess. My brother and I were the only ones traveling, so we were unaccompanied minors, and so the flight attendants had to take care of us. They had to take care of our every move, everything that we did. They had to make sure that we were okay. I remember falling asleep to a movie that they chose. You know, it was one of those big screens that they just put in the middle and everyone has to watch the same thing. This was in like 2013, so we didn't have like individual screens like they do now. But I think the movie that was on was The Pelican Brief, if I remember that correctly. And I remember it was so boring that I just fell asleep. But I got woken up to someone coughing really heavy, like 5 seats behind us, like like they were about to die, kind of coughing. We sensed that there was some kind of panic when the flight attendant that was supposed to take care of my brother and I, got up and started asking people whether they were a doctor or if they spoke French, because apparently the old guy that was coughing only spoke French, didn't speak any English at all. The flight attendant was American, by the way, so he didn't know how to speak French. Eventually, there was a French non-doctor who was able to find out what was happening. He was able to talk to the guy who was coughing. Apparently, this man was slowly unaliving on the plane. I turned around and I saw that he had an IV bag, and his IV bag was empty. So my guess, from me being a 14-year-old kid, my guess was that he needed his treatment in the US really badly, and the airline delayed it so much that he wasn't able to get to the US to get the medical care that he needed. And so we had to make an emergency stop at the nearest airline base, which was in Dakar, Senegal. We got there and landed, and we were waiting in the plane for medics to come in. The medics came in with a stretcher, and they got the dude off the plane. I remember seeing a lot of blood clots all over the pillows and all over the runway, and that smell was atrocious. It was so bad that I can still smell it right now whenever I think about it. It was that powerful of a smell. We had to get off the plane for them to sanitize the plane before we could get back on and go. And so apparently they were going to take us to a hotel for the night. I remember having to use my few years of French that I learned in school in Ghana to ask what time is it in French to a buff security guard that was standing at the airport entrance. Apparently it was 3 a.m. when we got there. So the airlines took us to a hotel called Kim Fad. This is not sponsored by them, by the way, but I highly recommend it because it was amazing. It was basically a palace that they made into a hotel. I would go again for sure at some point before I leave this earth. But yeah, they got my brother and I a room, and we just chilled there for a bit. We watched the El Clasico, Madrid against Barcelona, and then we went downstairs for an international dinner that airline organized for all of the passengers. It was pretty food, but it's still good on them to at least do something for us, right? They told us that we won't be leaving that night because they had a very heavy landing entering Dakar. So an engineer has to come check on the plane, but he lives super far away from the airport and it would take a while for him to get there. So they told us that we would leave at 1 a.m. in the morning. My brother and I stayed up the whole night watching soccer highlights and watching The Simpsons and anything that was on TV. But what sucked about it is that it was all in French, so we had no clue at all what any of them were saying. But I mean, cartoon is cartoon, right? You don't really need to understand what they're saying at that age, at least. but whatever. At 1 a.m. on the dot, my brother and I went downstairs to find out that pretty much everyone was gone, and there was just one more bus that was leaving the hotel for the airport. And our flight attendant was all the way at the door, and he turned and looked at us and was like, "Oh, hi guys, there you are." And so I guess we were not as eager and upset at the situation like the other passengers were, because they were downstairs way before 1 a.m. So I guess that's on us. Like, I don't know. But yeah, they put us on a bus, and we got into the bus and they took us to the airport, and we finally took off again. And this time we went all the way over the Atlantic Ocean. I remember being super occupied with the music that was on board, which included certain hits like Diamonds, and Welcome to New York. Oh, also Ho Hey by the Lumineers. So pretty much just bangers only. So I guess that's one good thing I can say about airlines. We arrived at JFK, and as soon as we touched down, everyone started applauding, which was funny, but still kind of cool. I was just excited to be there. So yeah, that's how we got to the US. It was a wild ride, but eventually we made it. And ever since then, we've traveled out of the country, inside the country, but we've just never flown through airlines, and I don't really think we ever will, but we'll see what time tells us. But yeah, thanks guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe so I can make some more of these videos. These are pretty fun to make. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right.